And Shane, best of luck to both of them as we get started here on Corrupted Keep. RAPHA's actually starting with the Death Knight, getting the first pickup for that LG, which means that the first fight for the rocket launcher could go, well, RAPHA's going to go the other way with that one. Just taking away some small armor instead, pretty much ceding control there. Doesn't want to play with Chain with the potential double rockets around some of these tighter choke points, but he's moving back in now. There's the meatballs, instant demons indeed, and Chain is going to be burning.
Yeah, that's the kind of massive damage output that you could see from DK, and I think him pushing in with LG, he knew from the second that fight started he was going to be in a really awkward angle that he couldn't dodge much. I'm surprised Chain didn't take that orb. Yeah, telefrag him. But I guess he bet on the smarter play. You know, we're just watching. You know, we don't have all this money on the line.
He still spawned Mega and just dropped towards the Mega. He's at least got a rocket launcher now, so he can defend himself down here in the boneyard. It's going to be right between the eyes. Caught him at the last second. That's going to be a RAPHA going down, but he's still one frag up and one frag away from taking the first round. Chain has got to make everything happen here with the Galena. Going to be keeping that totem up his sleeve, and I like that rocket. No damage on that rocket. Okay.
Those stairs, man.
Yeah.
Like you said.
Nice and
smallest
defensive.
stair.
But Chain's still able to get away with that heavy armor basically for free. Still got to totem up.
And a pretty even stack here. I mean, we're not looking at a huge difference. I think RAPHA may want a little more armor before he engages, but he's got that dual wield to kind of negate any stack advantage that Chain has at this point. So we'll see how he decides to play this out. He's got an even 200 versus basically an even 200.
I love that rocket jump.
That was a really smart
leaving RAPHA a little bit flat-footed, but it's still going to turn into an item trade here. But as Chain is coming out, he's not going for the heavy armor just yet. I mean, delaying is great. It makes a lot of great potentials for you later down the road, but making the exit right now when you know your opponent just got Mega, that's a little bit chancy.
Yeah, and I think Chain kind of knew going into that fight that he's going to have to create a situation where he could get a frag and on an item and then have a different item to fall back on, and I think that's why he created that small delay so that he could fight RAPHA at this Mega and potentially fall back to a heavy that's spawning right then and there.
Well, with 5 HP, he's still doing some pretty good damage here, but he has to avoid all the splash he can. But there's RAPHA's last rocket to shut down the first round.
Man, that was so close for Chain. I mean, he played that as well as he could have and just couldn't hit the last shot. And RAPHA, actually that totem wound up helping him at first and then hurting him later because I think the splash damage from the rocket on top of the totem is what wound up doing a bunch of damage to Chain. It actually gave RAPHA probably the only angle with a rocket there to do, you know, a solid 50 to 60 damage.
And here RAPHA gets the same spawn with the same champ. Chain, though, is going the other way with it, going back towards heavy instead, circling through the red room, which actually means that RAPHA with LG and nails can be very dangerous here, not to mention the flame strike.
Yeah, and I think RAPHA is definitely going to be playing to eliminate this BJ, so he could have his BJ up with nothing to contest it.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised. Also, you know, denying LG has helped him tremendously. If BJ had popped that ult with the double LG to start that fight, it would have ended a lot differently.
And RAPHA didn't have a whole lot of trouble leaving that rocket fight, but that rocket fight, not so easy to disengage from. So solid stuff out of Chain.
He tried to leave, but the rockets came and found him, man.
Yeah.
Heat seekers.
He's still got to go ahead and get as many vials as he can so that he can get that ability back up. But for now, he's got LG. He's got one frag in the lead. 5 seconds to Mega. Not quite time for his ability, but here he could just throw down some spam at least.
Yeah, and the spam damage from RAPHA, you know, it's not really doing much for him in terms of total stack, but it is at least sending a message to Chain like, hey, I know where you are. Oh, and that double LG is brutal.
And that's going to turn things back around here. And just like you said, now we've got just the one Blazkowicz on the board. Unfortunately for RAPHA, it's going to be some time before that ability comes back up. But he's looking at these vials, wants them. 5 seconds to Mega. Oh, and that rocket jump with the body block, the orb nearly being useful. And a lot of damage before this Mega comes up. But it looks like RAPHA's going to be giving it up. Oh, not so easily. Okay, a little bit more free damage there.
Yeah, and just keeping him honest in that situation, making sure he doesn't have any armor going into the next fight. Has to go for this armor.
Wow, the tracking there. I mean, dual LGs is always like, okay, yeah, dual LGs, but the fact that RAPHA was able to track that effectively at that range.
Especially given that he hit the first bounce. I mean,
yeah,
there's no aim punch in Quake, but that's, you know, that first rocket in a close range LG fight is as close as we get, really. So getting that bounce.
It's less aim punch and more just body punch. You know?
Yeah, it's more just like, you know, explosion punch to your face.
So, RAPHA nearly taken that rocket between the legs. Just trying to stay alive here. Chain's got him in the corner. He's going to know that he's going to have 50 health available here. But he's going straight for the Mega. He's even dodging out the Boneyard and going straight for the throat. So this is going to be a full lap of freebies. If Chain's not careful there, he's able to get the heavy at least. Delaying it.
Yeah, but I think that's a great point that you made about RAPHA. He knew exactly where on the map Chain was and how long it would take him to get to Mega. So he beelined it to Mega because he knew there was no possible way that Chain could even collapse and do damage at that point. He had it mapped out in his mind and executed well.
With his brain power.
With knowledge.
So many good rockets here. And I'm actually a little bit surprised that the Mega was even taken, so RAPHA's going to have to break off from this, disengage a little bit. But with Heavy coming back out, Chain can no longer afford the show here.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Chain, RAPHA's got Tribal and HMG. Both can be pretty devastating if Chain gets caught with his pants down, peeking the wrong angle. And with that stack disadvantage, you know, I think RAPHA's going to try and play for some free damage before he even pushes, just to make sure he gets this kill and ends this round.
Yeah, this is a bad place to get caught. I mean, really under the health platform is the best spot. And RAPHA didn't quite see him, but neither did Chain. They both outsnuck each other, but RAPHA, he's got that spider sense, you know?
Yeah, and I think he knew where he was, and ultimately, you know, like wound up finding him. But one thing I really liked that RAPHA did was he denied the most likely angle that Chain would be peeking.
Right.
He could have peeked right over the ledge from Bubbles, but he delayed it and peeked over the back ledge, which was probably the only angle someone holding a green armor, unless they're looking straight up, could see him.
And something special RAPHA did, he had enough ammo to clear the totem afterwards. So Kilson, take note. Remember that.
You got to preserve ammo for those totems.
Yeah, exactly.
Can't gauntlet them.
Put a little something aside for a rainy day. But RAPHA, I mean, he gets the nail gun spawn, which personally is my favorite spawn. It doesn't give you like the first rocket launcher, but it gives you so many other options. But Chain's rockets, 10 HP, and he's going to have just enough armor, just enough health to survive the burninating.
I was going to say Chain really likes that rocket spawn right about
now. Yeah.
But he's not liking this LG face.
Yikes, yeah, and RAPHA's just being so aggressive here. He knows he did the damage in that last fight. He knows he got him low. He didn't have a whole lot of time to recover, and he wants to get back in control pronto.
Yeah, what a phenomenal usage of the totem by RAPHA, just to guarantee that he didn't take any extra damage than he had to. You know, it wasn't that he had, you know, some innate brilliant plan. It was just, I'm going to fight you. Here's a little extra damage to protect me in this fight. I know I'm more stacked than you, but I just want to be sure.
And with this item split, there's not a whole lot for Chain to take on this side of the map. He can buy himself a little bit of time, a little bit of distance, but as RAPHA collapses, this is going to be a fight over heavy armor that I don't think Chain can do much at, especially not since that last rocket.
And that was a good weapon switch to shotgun. If Chain did decide to push that, RAPHA would not be dealing with mid-air rockets. He could deal, you know, a solid amount of damage and mid-air, very low risk. You know, I think that's one of the most underutilized weapons in the game right now.
Yeah. So RAPHA getting another clean pickup for Mega. And just not quite, you know, rocket jumping over towards the heavy, but certainly making his claim on it. Allowing Chain out a little bit, but still sticking around in mid long enough to say, like, hey, you want to peek out? You want to take some damage? You want to take a little bit of machine gun?
Well, and Chain's doing a really good job of surviving with minimal resources here. I mean, it's tough when you lose full control against a player that really knows how to keep it. And that's about as good of a scenario as Chain can hope for, is to just do max damage and hope you get the right spawn at
He
this
did
point.
quite a bit. Unfortunately, he got spawned more towards Tribal, so... And especially taking all this rocket damage right around the corner. He had enough time to throw down a totem, but not much more than that. GG called in the first map here on Corrupted Keep. RAPHA with one in the bag.
That was some dominant rocket play. I think what we've continued to see with RAPHA is as the weeks go by, his aim keeps getting better. His decision making has always been, you know, sound as can be, but it seems like he continues to hit, you know, and go for shots that he maybe wouldn't used to go for.
Maybe now you stop boot camping. You just fly where you're going and just start playing immediately.
Maybe that's it. Yeah,
just fly get that jet lag in.
Yeah, fly straight home.
Yeah,
get some jet lag and just hit every shot. That's the key.
Again, no annoying conscious thoughts getting in the way of anything. Yeah, just empty mind. But we're going to be going into map 2 here in just a moment. And again, we're not seeing Corrupted or Blood Covenant for a little while. It's going to be Ruins of Sarnath coming up next. So we're going from no rail at all to a very rail heavy map.
A very rail heavy map and two players who are not afraid to play rail heavy at all. I mean, we've seen a lot of games with RAPHA and CHA1N, where those players will play rail all day. I mean, they'll wait you out and peek you, and that's it. That's the
So
way
do
the
you
game
think
goes.
RAPHA will bring Slash back in though?
In a
He
grand
was
final, I
so-
would say I don't know, and I think CHA1N probably CHA1N was playing when Slash was meta. Sib really wasn't playing when Slash was meta, and I think RAPHA knows that. So CHA1N probably has a little more experience,
Okay.
and could hard counter pick it with maybe a tank potentially. But if RAPHA thinks CHA1N has no answer, why not?
I even missed the picks there. We were too busy theory crafting over to
Got to
take note.
a lot.
We're
literally
going to
what we
find
do.
out here in just a moment as we load in. But you're right. If somebody a little bit larger comes in, that could be a problem for Slash. But I just got to say, I mean, RAPHA was just so
Beastly.
decisive. Yeah.
Beastly is
All right, but here we go. I'm not seeing. Nope.
seeing a
nope,
Nyx.
not at all. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think in this type of scenario where, you know, this is where the big money's on the line. I mean,
Yeah.
this is the big match, and I think he knows that going into it, and he's not messing around. He's not picking anything that could potentially put him at risk. And Slash is one of those where if you know the player doesn't know how to play against it, it's fine. But if you know they might have a counter, it's risky. It doesn't have the invis to get out.
Yeah.
And the ult's still so powerful.
Here we've got a Nyx up first, so RAPHA's going to be
Rail.
looking for these long-range rails with a minimum amount of investment, even though he can't really have that much of a stack. But we have a tiny, tiny bit of item split here. Not a whole lot. Certainly not with the order it's in right now. You can't effectively go from heavy to mega all that quickly. So it's heavy taken first. RAPHA, is he going to let it sit a moment? I mean, this is all... Oh, my God. 100 damage rocket. Okay, great. Neat. Done. Cool.
Yeah, that's the old 5 steps ahead rocket.
Right. But by putting that kind of delay on things, you know that, okay, there is going to be a fight on heavy armor. It's not going to be, you take this, I take that. There is going to be a fight here, and RAPHA is saying, I have to win this fight or I lose both items.
Yeah, and with Galena having such a large natural strength compared to Nyx, I mean,
But he's also
that's
tracking, he's tracking CHA1N more than he's tracking the item, and came out of the shadows with his rockets blaring, taking away the mega, leaving the heavy up the entire time. So, I mean, you always dream about plays like that, but it's so rare to see one actually go that well.
Yeah, and I think he kind of knew the stacks at the time and knew that like that initial rocket was going to be so valuable. And that's another thing that's going to be changing in the PTS is that half-second delay on Nyx and Viz shooting. I mean, those types of plays are very interesting, and it's curious to see if that's something that makes its way into the next patch.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of feedback with this PTS, I think, but I'm enjoying these last moments of the way things are. Just because, I mean, it's been a unique game. We are still moving forward. The design's still getting iterated, but it's given us a lot of really good moments.
That's a lot of damage.
That is a lot of damage. With the rail out of the shadows, make that 2 for 2 very effective ghost walks for RAPHA.
Yeah, I mean, when you're hitting donks, you know, whether they're rockets, rails, whatever, it's hard to counter that, you know, no matter how well you're positioning, playing, you know, sometimes people are just hitting shots, and it's kind of looking like this round RAPHA's hitting his shots, and CHA1N is hitting his apparently.
Ooh, I was thinking, okay, he's actually getting away with that 50 health. Good job, RAPHA. Nope, not going to happen at all. So CHA1N, with just the one champion left in this first round, is looking at a Mondo stack. I mean, RAPHA still has a Dire Orb in his pocket with that Ranger, but right now he's bringing out the Galena, and CHA1N is just going to be, well, chaining together these pickups of the items.
Well, I think with that play from RAPHA, I feel like that was a little greedy. I feel like he could have gone for health over by the jump pad and maybe stayed out of line of sight, and maybe he just thought that CHA1N wouldn't even risk it for that rail, and now he's paying for it.
If he hadn't hit that last rocket, I mean, he would have been in a really bad spot on the staircase, but nicely done from CHA1N. He's brought this down to an even round. But still, even with the stack advantage, he's got to be very respectful of the orb. Opening rail like that is a good way to keep RAPHA at arm's length.
Yeah, and at this point, I think that's all it's about for CHA1N. Just get the orb out of the way. Don't shoot the wall. Shoot the bad guy, or shoot the glass.
The wall's tougher than you are.
Either way.
All right, or just creep around the corner and shoot each other at top T. That's always fun too. But CHA1N, he's only got 47 cells here, so he's got to kind of wonder about what weapon he's bringing to the fore with his dual wield.
Yeah, I think he's playing this the right way. Just making sure he preserves his stack, making sure he gets his stack supremely better than RAPHA. Because the way RAPHA's hitting right now, you know, like 50 stack advantage is not doing what it normally would do versus a player like this. I mean, he really needs to be bringing
CHA1N's rails really are impressive here. I don't even blame for going for the duel, really, because, yeah, like a couple more shots there would have done it. And RAPHA still lost out on that Mega. 5 seconds to drop down to the Heavy, and Chain's still looking for a rail on the light armor. A really good read, Drama's tier stuff, and now Chain is in a really good spot for this round.
Yeah, I mean, he continues to put the damage out. He's doing what RAPHA's done to him all game, all series, really, and that's just... Oh, you're going to stack? Okay, massive damage.
Jeez. Okay. Crazy, crazy rails there. At the beginning of this next round, I'm going to be taking a look at accuracies just because every single shot Chain made was just so vital. And it was in a spot where RAPHA couldn't immediately recover either.
2, 1. Round 2.
So yeah, taking a look at here real quick. What?
Wow.
7 out of 8 rails. Okay, neat.
That'll do it sometimes.
Neat, yeah. That's all you got to do. Hit every rail. Alright, but Chain's going to be getting a spawn that really favors the rocket launcher more than it does the rail. And that's where I appreciate, like, faster champions can circumvent that by dropping down to rail immediately, going LG, and then coming back for rockets. But here, Chain's playing a little bit more of a vanilla game. He's still got that first rail off on RAPHA, but RAPHA's setting a bit of a trap at the shock with the LG. He's throwing out an orb to get out of the fight, but it's just going to be consistent damage, and that is going to shut down that Galena.
Yeah, I think RAPHA there played that about as well as he could, and I think he's starting to realize he probably took a look at those accuracies himself, to tell you the truth, and he probably said, "Okay, stop."
What
stop
a place for RAPHA to stand there too.
No kidding. That's a really fortunate bounce. I think RAPHA probably looked at it in between the rounds and said,
"Oh my
feels
God,
like he's hitting everything," and looked at it, and turns out he is hitting everything.
I can't believe RAPHA just survived that. I mean, he RJ'd up before getting the 25, tried to get that Mega, failed, dropped down, was eating dual tribal, did a dire orb to go get the 25, and then was able to walk back out of there, still getting a rail off.
Yeah, that
this
was
guy's
just
a
really
machine.
slippery.
Yeah. And yeah, that rocket just to close off the room and to try to get a 25, but he's going to need this armor. And this is a similar situation to his Nyx, where he's running away and you think he might get away with it, but it's still dangerous. But there's the Mega for RAPHA. He's right back in this, and now these rail trades are just fine for RAPHA. Bless you. Thank you. Love that rocket jump. Yeah, getting out of there. You could see that Chain wanted to set a trap there. No such luck. Talk about 5 steps ahead.
Yeah, I think RAPHA's made the adjustment, and that's the tricky part about beating him is when you find something that's working against him, he's immediately going to counter it. So Chain has to start thinking about Plan B and Plan C, and if those plans will work out against RAPHA.
You even see that when Liquid is playing TDM, where like the first 3 minutes or so, Liquid's not necessarily in charge of things, but they creep it back and they never let go.
Yeah, it's a constant adjustment thing, and I think it's one of their best characteristics. It's not so much that their aim or anything like that is more dominant. It's their constant adjustments, their constant adaptation, and now you're seeing that with RAPHA and Duel. And I think that's been the difference for him the last few weeks. Wow.
It's got to feel good getting 80 damage on a drop-down rocket like that. So RAPHA back in position for this Mega. Chain going, hey, how much is that Mega in the window? Too rich for your blood, Chain. Not this round, at least. So RAPHA tying it back up.
Round begins in 3.
I mean,
really good use of the orb by RAPHA.
I love in this map how coming from nail gun to Mega, if you know your opponent's not there, then great. It's a quick way to go get Mega. No big deal. If your opponent's at top T, then maybe you can pressure them back. If they're at the doorway already, it could go south. If they're at the Mega itself, it's not worth it most of the time.
Yeah, it's one of those few positions in this game where it really feels like you could make somebody completely useless if they make the wrong read.
Yeah.
And that's kind of fun. It's almost like somebody pushing bridge to rocket on DM6 or something like that, and you just catch them with LG, and you're like, yep, this is where it ends for you, buddy.
It's the beautiful thing about this game.
Oh, it's awesome.
All right, so good donks from RAPHA. Looking for a little bit more. Not switching over to rail this time. Back over to LG.
He needs the donk to finish it.
Looking
but
for
a rail donk this time.
Well, Mega's going to be back up, and Chain's got to realize, okay, he went down towards heavy. I can make this my Mega. It's going to put a good, like, what, 6 seconds between them. But there's a rail immediately, and now Chain's back in the danger zone. Going to be looking for the cubby health, but, yeah, a rocket jump to get out of there, totally don't blame him. What? 90 damage. It's like, can I just get my totem back? Nope.
That was a good fall. That was a good counter rail by Chain. I mean, he didn't exactly fold after RAPHA put that pressure on him, but
yeah,
you got to respect the rocket there. I mean, that's just phenomenal placement, and it's been consistent all game. These aren't one-offs. It's just been 90 after 100 after 90 after 100 over and over again.
So RAPHA take a little bit more health, and yeah, when it's Galena v Galena, these fights can last a little bit longer just because the recovery potential for Galena is just so massive. Thing is, RAPHA's got 2 totems up, and Shane is sitting at none. I mean, keeping one up your sleeve is so handy in a fight, but he's having to leave these fights immediately, like totem or no totem.
He has been rather totemless.
I mean, good LG, but
Rockets.
the Rockets are going to be, they're going to do what Rockets do. And Shane's going to be able to get a frag on the board. So we saw this around before. RAPHA's just baiting that, getting the orb all the way back over to the small armor. We're getting away with some HMG. I'm so glad the Quake 4 HMG is in.
Oh, it's such a good looking skin.
Yeah. And
It
it's
just
small.
sounds like
it's small, too.
It sounds like it's melting you too. Like
Yeah.
when you hear the sound, it's just like devastating.
Well, speaking of melting, we got a little bit of LG coming out of RAPHA. Just a bit of a drive-by before moving back in towards Mega. And I like that he used the full length of the hallway to throw down some nails to prevent that angle. RAPHA going quiet. RJ over the wall. Doesn't have a rail, so he can't make the quick switch there. Going, oh yeah, maybe a rail would be the thing to do. That would be another great place for rail, but he's trying to make happen with the orb. There's the rocket. There's the frag. And that deletes that last Galena.
Yeah, and RAPHA being really smart here, not pushing right into where he could get orbed and just making sure he does a really nice rocket jump onto the ceiling there. He's just making sure it's still there.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
sometimes you got to check and make sure those floors are still there.
Chain's going to get on that Mega, but it's just barely going to keep him in good health. He's still not looking for him at the T, like, hey, there's orbs coming your way, there's rails coming your way, and he's, yeah, backing off from this, realizing, hey, I just got Mega, but it's not doing me a lot of good. 3 seconds to armor, and RAPHA's taking small first. And yeah, with the damage that he did to Chain's thinking it's not worth it. Let it be a trade. So RAPHA just creeping up the stairs. There's the orb out, and yeah, even as slow as RAPHA was moving, no clean orb out of Chain.
Yeah, I really do like that RAPHA continues to challenge for these items even though orb is up, but like making sure that he's in an unorbable or difficult to orb position, even if he is going slow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a word. I made it up right now.
I know, it totally works.
I feel like it does. It'll catch on. It's like fetch.
Fetch?
Yeah.
I
Never
mean,
seen Mean Girls?
that is a word. Okay, no, I guess I haven't.
Oh man,
I've been avoiding it.
it's a classic.
Okay. All right, but it's going to be RAPHA just keeping the pressure on Chain here in the most classic of positions. Like, stuck on this rocket launcher, nowhere to go. You can defend a bit from here, but it is just a battle of attrition every single time. And RAPHA is going to be on match point for Ruins to Sarnath.
There was some really quality,
Round
some
begins.
quality movement and dodging by RAPHA. It's really difficult to dodge on those bridges, and I think when you fall, a lot of people kind of struggle with what to do. Their reaction is to kind of go like towards pad or towards the stairs. And RAPHA, a rocket jumping, even though he ate a rocket as a result of it, was a lot less predictable than either of the two other options.
Yeah.
And kind of creative. And because RAPHA's rocket jumps are so solid and the angles are so precise, it works for him. And I think that was a really good example of what to do in a situation that's kind of sticky.
Well, RAPHA doing the thing by ghost walking without Chain even knowing a ghost walk is coming. He suspected it, but he could not defend against it. And I think a lot of players think that the way to do an aggressive ghost walk is to get close to your opponent, then ghost walk, and then chase them around for a bit. Really, you need to ghost walk before they even know you're in the area.
Yeah, and I think that takes a lot of measurement. I'm sure he's spent time like on the maps finding out where you can hear the sound, where you can't hear the sound, and like using that to punish, because it always seems like he's just out of range.
They can't dodge you if they don't know you're even there.
That's true. It's like an invisible wrench.
That made too much sense, actually. That's
Yeah, it's like, you know.
too congruous. All right, so here we go. RAPHA, one frag up with the Nixon Maya.
The head dome.
Oh no!
He's trying to RAPHA and it just didn't work the same there.
Oh no!
He was trying to do the sneaky
What
play.
was any of that? the body block, the ghost walk,
the Goomba rocket dong.
Casually jumping over the last rocket that Chain threw out, taking no damage whatsoever. That was just, you cannot touch me.
I mean, that was just like sheer
Disgusting.
denial, man.
Oh, jeez.
It's like a puppet right there. I mean, Chain's not in a bad position. He's got full control of the
He
map
might just be in a bad state of mind now. I would be.
Yeah, I mean,
like,
well, I don't know, how much of a state of mind he can be in. He's probably concussed after that rocket.
Jeez. Absolutely devastated. So Chain, yeah, trying to stay alive with this BJ. He doesn't have dual wield up, but he's making good damage happen with his rails. Again, he's hitting fantastic rails in Ruins of Sarnath, but RAPHA, even being railable, is going to be looking for this mega.
I mean, RAPHA's damage output, even when he doesn't have like any items whatsoever, is very high. I mean, so the fact that he's hitting like these fadeaway rails and rockets and stuff like that, even though he has no stack to play with, is pretty exceptional. But I have to applaud Chain. Like, he really got the bad end of the stick in that fight.
Yeah.
And he's worked his way back into the round.
He got the whole stick.
Yeah, he got. Yeah, there was no good end in it, and it went in the wrong end. That's where that's.
Oh yeah.
And
This is going to be with the tribal just over the lip. I mean, Chain's got to be worried about that. Really wanted to back off from that fight. Like, if you're a Quake player, the sound of a tribal has got to make you just immediately, like, get your skin crawling. Yeah. Like, I don't want to get hit by this. Really don't.
I mean, I like the dynamic it adds to the game.
No, that's great.
I think I like that you can measure it out and kind of, use it in situations where you can be kind of creative. And here we got a really intense fight that we're talking about.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the few times we've seen RAPHA have to use that ghost walk.
Defensively, yeah.
Yeah, in the middle of a fight. I mean, Chain was still wounded. He wasn't going to be looking to chase, but at the same time, RAPHA couldn't really afford to either because Chain was aware of the potential for that chase. So RAPHA's still available. We hear Chain down below. Don't break the pots.
1 minute and 30 seconds, or 1 minute and 15 seconds left. RAPHA doesn't need to do too much here.
No.
He just needs to not die. That's all he's got to do.
That simple.
Just don't die.
All right, so we hear heavy taken. RAPHA looking for LG damage here, but he takes a rocket between the eyes. Oh no, but Chain messes up the rocket jump.
Chain found the same ceiling that RAPHA found earlier.
No, disaster of all disasters. That was it. It was like, okay, cool, I hit the rocket. He's going to be weak. He doesn't have an easy way out.
He didn't read RAPHA's case study conclusion. He had to try it for himself.
Oh, jeez. Oh, gosh. All right, so RAPHA backing up here with Tribal. Like, all right, yeah, bring in the LG, but like you said, he's got a little bit more time, 30 seconds to survive with the Galena, and if you're looking for survivability, Galena is it.
Yeah, Quake's gonna be in trouble with the CTE. They need to put helmets on these players if they keep running into ceilings here with these rocket jumps.
Yeah. Thought roof was bad until you meet ceiling.
Yeah.
All right, but 10 seconds. As RAPHA's gonna be keeping a totem up his sleeve. Waiting on the wall. Oh, and Chain didn't even see him up there. Big red glowing guy on top of the wall. Just got to look up.
I think that's probably why they put the Ranger football player's skin in the game, is for the helmet.
Oh, yeah. I get it. It's the Athena helmets I don't appreciate as much. But man, this map was just full of like Chain hitting a lot of really good stuff, and just like before, I think you're right. Chain was not playing poorly at all. He was playing out of his mind. RAPHA's, I want to say reads, but then we saw some situations where you wonder, how could anybody get away with the things that he's getting away with?
Yeah.
Like, it's not even like tactile control. It's just shit's happening.
Yeah, like the play by eyeball.
Yeah.
It just comes down to like, what it reminded me of that Evil versus RAPHA final.
Yeah.
Where it was like, how the hell do they keep getting out of these situations? and it just kept happening for him. It just seems like it might be just his day. Because Chain is playing incredibly well. Yeah. I mean, he's not doing a bunch of dumb mistakes.
He's not making many mistakes at all.
No,
really,
he's actually in good positions. Like, it's like RAPHA has finally been like, man, what is it that all these other guys are doing all the time that's working so well?
Hitting rails?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's like, wait, I'm going to try that. Like, this sounds so easy.
Oh, geez. Never watch this VOD, RAPHA.
Yeah, don't do
Please
that.
never watch this.
Don't
all
do
right.
that.
Here we go. We're going to be getting into map 3, potentially the final one here, as we've got Chain take it away, Ranger and BJ. RAPHA deliberating a little bit here as we go into Awoken. And yeah, Blazkowicz is kind of a gimme here. Like, you gotta gotta have somebody to bring to a map that small. So yeah, there's nearly the mirror match. We're gonna see RAPHA go back in for okay, Clutcherino. Chain's got to make some kind of responsive pick here, like a Nyx, or not a Nyx, the opposite of a Nyx.
And he might be trying to kind of play a little bit of a mind game here. I think Clutch can be incredibly frustrating to play against.
Nyx.
Yeah, I think Clutch can be incredibly frustrating to play against, and I think when you're in Chain's position and you've lost a couple, RAPHA probably knows that he's gotten some things going his way that last map that would probably tilt Chain a little bit. Chain's probably a little frustrated at this point because, I mean, I don't know about you. I feel like last map should have been 2-2 going into round 5. You know,
it certainly
very,
felt like
close.
that way. Yeah, for sure.
So I'm sure he might be using that Clutch as kind of a bully tactic to say, yeah, you're down. I'm gonna make sure you don't get back into this final.
Yeah. But here we go. We've got GLs and HS. RAPHA getting probably my most like. It's not my least favorite spawn, but it's the one that makes my skin crawl a little bit just because, like, okay, if I go for Mega first, and if I go for LG first, then I might not get Mega, and it could go poorly either way. But when you're starting as a BJ, of course, you certainly have that insurance. But they're both thinking the same thing. They're both hitting incredible shots. Chain, though, getting RAPHA down to 10 HP. 8 seconds before the next Mega comes back up, and RAPHA doesn't really have the weapons to defend with, but he gets a ton of 7s off on Chain, and immediately the stacks almost reverse.
Yeah, that was a really phenomenal angle to hold for RAPHA there. No line of sight for BJ the entire way, and then Chain finally comes around the corner, and, well, he's eating a lot of damage.
And the fact that Chain's got to leave this fight now and leave up Mega is kind of phenomenal. So RAPHA's able to take away a great stack, finally getting some more weapons, getting a little bit more LG ammo, and with Chain trying to move back through the banana. Okay.
I mean, Chain played that as well as he possibly could, I think.
Yeah.
Once he took that damage, it was like, you know, wow. Yeah. He played that really well, and unfortunately, again, it's like you hit an opening donk 100. That's a ton of damage to start a fight with, and he keeps putting himself in good positions. I just think he's 1 or 2 shots off every fight.
Yikes. Yeah.
RAPHA's on a bit of a different planet at the moment, so.
There are these moments where, you know, something in your metabolism just hits the right pitch, and everything seems to be working for you. And at the moment, we're seeing that from RAPHA, and today was supposed to be his off day.
Yeah, no kidding.
All right, so RAPHA looking for a bit more chase as Heavy's coming back up, and Chain just completely shut down. Yeah, forget the Heavy. I'm just going to get the frag done.
Yeah, I think RAPHA kind of knew he was very, very low, and that he could kind of just push a shotgun and tickle him. Not needing to do too much there.
You always think when you come out of that teleporter, you immediately turn right. Like, I just want to get around that corner as quickly as possible, get safe, get a little bit of breathing room. And didn't quite go his way. So RAPHA spawning up as Clutch this time, back through the teleporter, and with enough speed to kind of catch Chain on his way out of the heavy armor. So he's going to have rails and not much else.
That was
no BJ.
That was a really smart play with Clutch.
Yeah.
He did not elect to go with the drill because he knew if the LG fight went awry, he could just leave the shield back up.
Right.
Even though it would be delayed, he could have gone for the drill right away, but he elected to just delay it slightly, make sure that he wasn't taking way too much damage and having an out in that fight.
And when you know that all your opponent has is a rail, then yeah, that kind of changes things a bit. So Chain down to BJ, up on Ranger. RAPHA taking away full control. 3 seconds to Mega, but RAPHA's actually peeking back over at rail here. So this could be a Mega going over to Chain. No big deal. So even Chain's going, really? For me? It's a Christmas?
Haven't seen one of these in a while.
Yeah. Interesting to see a Clutch kind of like play the corner like that, like peeking, railing. And these ambient sounds are going to put me to sleep. Too soothing.
It's a good angle for Chain to hold, but RAPHA, I think, heard him.
Meanwhile, Chain's got a good guess where he's at, but there's the move back down to Mega, using that Clutch speed to just very quickly capitalize and get the grab of that Mega.
I'm a little surprised RAPHA didn't go to try and do damage on this Heavy. I mean, he gave himself the end to do a rail from Telly. But I guess he wanted to play it safe and make sure he got the armor, but...
Yeah, he's spamming a lot of very specific corners so that if he gets a fight there, he's immediately going to have that advantage. Just like this one here. Good rail coming out of Chain, but there's the push in. There's the orb through. No such damage, and Chain goes down to just his Nyx now, and Nyx versus a Clutch. Again, I'm kind of wondering, what was the idea here?
This is a nice invis play. I mean, he knows the old ska, and yeah, this is a really good idea from Chain. He doesn't have the stack to kind of stay in the fight, but he's really kind of put RAPHA on the back foot. Unfortunately, RAPHA hitting that rail is going to put Chain in a seriously bad situation with no invis, and RAPHA's going to have a shield up first. All RAPHA has to do is make sure he doesn't die in the next 2 seconds. And he's set.
It's not the tallest order here, so Chain's going to be down to a little under 50 health, looking for banana health, but RAPHA is ready and waiting. Either side, Chain wants to come out, and he didn't even really look at the Mega side all that much. He was like, okay, he's going to double back. He's just going to take health and not cross.
Yeah, I felt like RAPHA pretty much knew as soon as that invis fight ended poorly for Nyx that he had that round kind of locked down.
Yeah.
Round 3.
All right, so here we go. I mean, this is going to be a match point for RAPHA, not only for the map, but for the series and the grand final. It's going to be up to Chain to turn things around.
Yeah, and so far, so not going so great this map.
I mean, you get 15 seconds into a round, and you go, all right, I've got the weapons on my side of the map, and we haven't had a fight yet. Like, that's that's always a little bit of a relief, but it's the second bout of items that's always a little bit more risky.
Yeah, and
oh my god,
for Chain, RAPHA, yeah, it's just the rocket damage
oh my
is
god,
so high right now.
Yeah. That stop hitting me, please.
Yeah, it's when it's consistently 50+ damage every shot, it's very, very tough to deal. Even if you're hitting really hard with your LG, your rail, it almost doesn't matter.
Back through TP, and Chain's going back to LG again, and so far that really hasn't been a place of solace for Chain. Yeah, he's looking at the door going, that's a bad idea. Looking at the other side of Banana going, that's a bad idea. It's all bad all the way down. All right, but there's the chase through the teleporter. RAPHA's close in the distance with the orb and getting the frag off, so Chain is literally down to his Nyx.
Yeah, I think Chain's in a really tight spot here. He's not totally out of it, but he pops his invis immediately and RAPHA hears it. I think there's a little tilt going on.
A little bit of LG, yeah. Looking to finish with the Trespasser. Chain's going to be knocked on down, and he's going to be able to take away 125, but it won't be lasting long.